Welcome back to Trucking and Politics, folks. So, change of plans. And you probably think, well, what are you talking about, Dave? There is no change of plans here. Actually, there is for me, maybe not for you. I started doing this video and I stopped in the middle of it because I was going straight to the point, and what I was going to do was do a video about trucking companies that I have worked for as a good and a bad, a pro and a con. So I stopped in the video and I restarted, and I'm going to do this video. This video is about setting this up, how to pick a good trucking company to go to work for as a newbie driver, maybe even an experienced driver. I started this channel as two things. One thing, I wanted to do this channel as sharing my experiences as a 24-year veteran truck driver. The other thing that I wanted to do this channel about was to give heads up about stuff that was happening in the world of trucking, the world of politics, how politics affect trucking, and such as that. And also, as a third thing here that I wanted to try to do is to help other truck drivers out, to give tips, tidbits of information, heads up, just like my last video I did about how picking a bad shop can ruin an owner operator. And it is a long video, got a little long on that one. I'll try to keep this one down to a minimum. But this video, I think, I don't need to jump right into doing reviews of trucking companies that I work for, showing you the good, the bad, the ugly, reference to Clint Eastwood's movies there. Instead, I think I need to set a foundation. And I think that's how you build something. You set a good foundation and you build upon it, right? So, how do you pick a good company to work for? Different opinions. I've talked to other truck drivers out there. I've heard everything from I don't care as long as it pays. I'm homeless, and there is a lot of truck drivers out there that are homeless. I actually went to truck driving school with one. He had gave up his apartment, shifted his mail over to I think a family member's house, if I remember correctly, and just unloaded all of his stuff, sold it at a garage sale, gave it away to friends and all. And he said, I'm going out to trucking and I'm going to live on the truck. I don't care about home time. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. I don't really have any family. Don't have a girlfriend. So I'm just going to live on the truck. And hey, if it works for him, I've met other truck drivers out on the road. I met a guy up in Iowa one time at the Iowa 80. He was an older truck driver. He said it was just him and his dog. His wife had passed away, and he just lived in the truck. He said, "I'll just be here until until I'm expired." So you have a whole range of truck drivers out here, from really, really young guys to really old guys to women that I have seen women team with their daughters. I have seen women team with their husbands. Truck driving is a huge thing. It's not just one little tidbit of something. So, taking all of that into consideration, here's my best thing of picking a trucking company for you to go to work for. One, you have to know your situation. That is very, very important. You have to know your situation. You have to be aware of your situation. Okay. Like I'm saying with that, a person that is single, that you don't care about home time, you just want a certain truck, you want to run a certain area, maybe. You're young, you just want to see the entire United States. You don't care where you run to, you don't care how long you stay out. That's going to play into it. So, know your situation. Okay. There's so many different types of trucking companies. There's so many types of jobs within trucking. There's dry van, which is the most volume wise, the most jobs that are out in trucking is pulling dry vans. And what is meant by a dry van, if you're new and you don't know, it is just a standard box trailer. It is, think of it as a U-Haul. That's probably the best way to compare it, because everyone knows U-Haul. If you just go get a U-Haul trailer, it has no refrigeration unit on it. It just has doors in the back and an empty shell in the middle, and on the inside rather. And that could be considered a dry van. Also, something about trucking is, for a more experienced driver, know your worth. A lot of trucking companies nowadays, compared to the old companies, they were really busy. They were really needing truck drivers. Now, no matter what you hear in the news or whatever, there is no driver shortage. That is a bunch of bloat and misconception. There is no driver shortage, and it shows that there is no driver shortage because pay for truck drivers is going down. Also, trucking companies don't usually pay a sign-on bonus anymore. That is something that is going away. Used to, you could get as high as $10,000 or $15,000 as a sign-on bonus to go to work for a company. Now, I know there are still some companies out there that do pay a sign-on bonus, but for the most part, that is something that is going away. Sign-on bonuses just don't basically exist anymore. Also, something that I have noticed with trucking companies too is companies used to pay for experience. There was an elevated pay rate. If you had 1 year experience, you were coming to work for the company. If you had 20 years of experience going to work for the company, starting out, you would not start out at the same rate of pay. The person that had 1 year experience would start out at, say, 45 cents a mile, just for an example. The person with 20 years of experience would start out at 55, 58 cents a mile, something like that. There would be a graduated pay rate there. A lot of companies are not doing that anymore. They top their drivers out that are there. They want to retain the drivers that are there with their companies and try to get them to work as long as they will for that company. If you're new, no matter your experience rate, of driving a truck, your rate will be the same no matter what across the board. That is another thing that proves to me that there is no driver shortage. They don't care about you coming into the company. They want to retain drivers. So that's something you need to think about too. Maybe the company that you're with is the best company you can work for. I don't know. You have to know your situation. You have to know your worth. You have to know what you have. And if you think about changing a company, changing to another company, do your homework. Take this video, take other videos out here like this, talk to other drivers, Know your worth. Know what you're getting into with this other company. Do your homework. Study it. Set out a bunch of criteria. Something that my wife and I do a lot. Like, take for example this house right here that I live in. We've only been in this house 2 years. We bought this house. We've been here for 2 years. There was reasons that we wanted to buy another house, and you can go back to a couple of videos before if you're interested in that, and look at my video about the possession the house there. It was a little weird, a little quirky video, but that one and the last video that I put out about a shop can destroy you as an owner operator, that led up to the fact that we wanted to buy this house, and it was a bad decision. We're glad we made the bad decision, but it was a bad decision. That sounds like weirdness, but it is what it is. The other thing with trucking is you may make a bad decision leaving your job and going to work for another company unless you know what you're getting into. Sometimes, I think there's a Rolling Stone song about this, that you don't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need. That's goes along with trucking and jobs and houses and decisions and everything. Maybe it's not what you want, but it's what you need. I think that was our situation with this house. It may be your situation with a job. So there's all kinds of different trucking jobs. Like I said about the dry van, there's also reefer, which is refrigerated. You haul food mainly that is needing to be kept refrigerated. There's some products out there that need to be chilled or kept at a constant temperature. They don't want them freezing. They don't want the product overheating. So they put it on a temperature controlled trailer. So you have reefer jobs out there. Mostly that is going to be food, going to food distributors, food warehouses, and stuff like that. Another thing you can do is hopper bottoms. You can do grain hauling. You can do bulk products, going to distribution centers, warehouses, and stuff like that. There is flatbeds. Flatbeds is self-evident of what a flatbed is. It is a trailer with no top on it. Some flatbeds do have tops on them. There are tarping systems. Sometimes you have to manually put your tarp on your product. Sometimes it's just a product, you strap it down, chain it down, and you go. There's different types of flatbed stuff out there. That is going to be a lot of work on the driver. You have to think about that if you get into flatbed. There's car haulers, auto transports. Some of those are enclosed. Some of them are open car haulers that will involve you knowing how to distribute your weight and what vehicle to put where, knowing how to set your height on your vehicle, because sometimes you'll be over height if you don't get it set right. Heavy haul. You got different types of heavy haul trailers. There are equipment trailers that you can pull. There are wings for windmills that you can pull. There's all kinds of different truck driving jobs. Basically, what I'm saying with this video is, if you're wanting to get into truck driving, or if you're wanting to trade jobs into truck driving, more or less, if you go from a dry van job to another dry van job, or if you go from a reefer job to another reefer job, it's going to be basically the same. Basically. The difference is, and this is something that I have told so many people, a lot of people disagree with me, a lot of people do agree with me. If you live, say, in Nebraska, and you're very close to Lincoln, Nebraska, your home time probably will vary greatly with somebody, say, they live in Miami, Florida, and they work for the same company that you do. They work for a company out of Lincoln, Nebraska. No matter what it is, it's a dry van, flatbed, hopper bottom, whatever. If they live in Miami, Florida, and they work for a trucking company out of Lincoln, Nebraska, their home time is going to be different than your home time living in the town that the company is based out of. I mean, it's just, to me, it's common sense. You're closer to the terminal, so therefore you're better off with your home time. There's some drivers out there that don't care about this. You know, like the ones that I spoke about earlier, that just want to go. They want to live in the truck. They're homeless. They choose to be homeless. And they don't care. You know, they just want to be out on the road. Know what your situation is. Know what your worth is. Ask. The basic thing that I have found out with a lot of truck drivers that I have talked to out here is they don't know their situation. And I know that sounds like I'm talking down about a truck driver, but I'm trying to help is what I'm trying to do. And it's not talking down, because it's something that a lot of truck drivers, I think, overlook. They don't think about what situation is best for them. They just say, oh, this trucking company hired me, so therefore I have to do what this trucking company tells me to do. Or I have to suffer through this until I get over this, and then I go to work for a company that better suits me. Give you an example of what I'm talking about. When I first went to work, which my next video is going to be a full review of this trucking company that I'm about to talk about. It was MS Carriers out of Memphis, Tennessee. When I first went to work for them, I went through their truck driving school. Now, I was green, but then again, my father was a truck driver. I've had many uncles that were truck drivers. I knew the basics, a little extended basics of how trucking worked. Okay. And when I called this company, I told them that I was wanting to go to their school, and then I was wanting to drive a truck for them. And I left it at that. I was young. I didn't think that I had a lot of opportunities, a lot of choices. Knew I didn't have a lot of experience. So I was going to be at their mercy, right? Well, it turned out that that was not the case. Because with MS Carriers within the trucking company, they had all kinds of different opportunities. They had over the road, which means you just drive 48 states over the road, wherever they send you to. If you're out 2 weeks, if you're out 2 months, it's whatever the trucking company offers you. Now, MS Carriers did do that, and that was probably the most of what MS Carriers did. The other thing was they had regional accounts, which regional means, like I was saying about the home time, you being in Lincoln, Nebraska versus the guy in Miami, Florida. If you lived in a region that they had a lot of customer freight out of, you could get home, quite often. Say they had a customer in Nashville, Tennessee. You lived in Nashville, Tennessee. If you wanted to take care of that customer with them and work hand in hand with that customer, maybe they had enough freight that you could go out and back and be home on the weekends. You might be home during the week and the weekends. MS Carriers offered that as well. Another thing they offered was local work, which is a day cab truck. And in a day cab truck, you are on a different set of rules. You are a different e-log user. Now, back then it was paper logs, but you did different paper logs than what an over the road or a regional driver did. And, your hours were different. Usually with day cabs, you either work a third shift job or you work a first shift job. Maybe it's a mix in the middle of first, second, and third. But you had a steady thing that you did as a day cab, and you got daily home time, whether it's during the day or at night. You got home when your hours were out. MS carriers offered that as well. Another thing MS carriers offered that was very unique, that I thought would really take off, that a lot of people would be getting into, and what ultimately I got into with MS carriers was what is called a dedicated account. And it's kind of like regional, but you don't work for, you do work for MS carriers, but, or rather, I worked for MS carriers, but I was 100% dedicated to one customer. With that dedicated account that I was on, I left out either Sunday night or Monday morning, and I was back home either Friday or Saturday morning, and it was just a revolving door. I didn't go to the same areas. Sometimes it was New York, sometimes it was Florida, sometimes Nebraska. It just depended, on where the product went, but it was out and back, reloaded, out and back. Okay. So there's opportunities all over trucking. And what I would like to say in this video is know your worth, know what you're able to do, know what your situation is, know what you're comfortable in. If you want to do flatbed, look for flatbed jobs. If you want to do dry van, look for a dry van job. If you want to do reefer, do reefer jobs. Here's something that I would really stress to you is a lot of truck drivers out here are very opinionated, extremely opinionated in some situations. Some of them will tell you there's no other job out here in trucking besides heavy haul. That's it. If you don't do heavy haul, you might as well go work at McDonald's. That is their opinion. That's not fact. That is their opinion because that's what they do, and that is all they're interested in doing. Okay? I can tell you from my standpoint, I have booked loads. When I booked loads as an owner operator, I have booked loads for $4 a mile in a dry van. I have factual proof that I have done it. And it wasn't once, it wasn't twice, it was multiple times. Multiple times. So when people say there is no money in pulling a dry van, wrong answer. That is a wrong answer. It depends on where you're at and what you're doing with a dry van. Same way with flatbed. I know personally a guy right now that pulls flatbed, and he's barely getting by, barely paying his bills. And he's working every day. He's working every week. He's doing every load the company gives him, and he's just barely getting by. Other people in the company are doing great. He's not. Why? I don't know. In that situation, he might want to start thinking about getting out of that specific flatbed job and going to work for another flatbed company. He may even want to think about switching and going to reefer or doing dry van or power only. That's another thing. Power only is another job that you could do as trucking. There's two different types of power only jobs. One is where you either lease onto a company and you pull their freight with their trailer, that's considered power only. You're providing the power, therefore you're providing the truck, like Amazon. Amazon is a company that does this, power only. Amazon, you haul their freight in their trailer, but it's your truck, either your company or you're leased onto a company that is leased onto Amazon. It starts getting confusing, but there's that situation. The other power only is where there is no trailers involved. And you say, well, there has to be trailers involved, or what would you be pulling? Well, there is trailers involved, but what I meant to say was there's no product involved. The trailer is the product. Here where I live at, there is a utility trailer manufacturer, and there is a Great Dane trailer manufacturer, and there's a couple of other trailer manufacturers within this area. With that type of power only, you pick up the trailer from the manufacturer and you deliver it to either a customer or you deliver it to a dealership, which will then in turn sell the trailer to an individual or a company. So there's something else you can think about, is doing a power only job. If you only have a truck and you have your own authority, or you have a company that you're leased onto that allows you to do power only, there you go. You can have that option. If you need to know any more about this, if you want me to go in more depth with it, you can contact me at truckingandpolitics01@gmail.com. Like I said earlier, I will leave a link down in the description. You can contact me directly. We can talk about it. I'm looking at doing interviews with truckers and trucking companies to build the channel. If you're wanting to do that, let's talk. Let's see what we can help you with here in Trucking and Politics, and see how we can further progress this channel and further progress you as a truck driver, help you as a new truck driver, help you become a better truck driver. Let's work together to better trucking. So if you need to contact me directly, if you're wanting to come on and add something here that I didn't put in this video, send me an email down at the link below, and we'll talk. In the meantime, have a great day.